So you can see here I have got on one of my artboards the final palette that I came up with. The top part are the buildings and the bottom part are the trees and the parks. And then I've got my artwork here drawn as flat drawings. And then I've got these two other artboards here. So I'm going to zoom in on this one artboard. And I am going to go to the Perspective grid tool. So you can just click on it, and it went where I did not want it to go. Went up here to the middle of my page. So to move it, first thing that's good to know is you can move it by dragging these handles on the bottom left. Okay, so or right, left to right, but not these. So when you start playing with these different handles, you'll see how it changes the perspective. And so you can pull a handle to pull it down, and you can pull up to have fewer grid lines, and you can turn it so that you get different levels if you're going to have multiple. Say you were going to put something in front of a sidewalk. So here's your building. In a sense, it's abstract, but there you can sort of see a building. So then you might want to pull out to draw a sidewalk in front of it. Okay. So you can play with, pulling these different points and playing with them. So I've got my grid in here. So I'm going to zoom out for a moment. I'm going to zoom in over here, and I'm going to take one of my buildings. So my theme is to have a energy efficient city. So I've got all these solar panels in here, and also I've got added pipes where I've got my groundwater, my wastewater, and then my gray water. So the gray water would be water that comes from your sink, and then the brown water would be from your toilet. So the gray water could be used for watering lawns and stuff like that. And it also helps with not overburdening the sewer system, the septic system. So I'm still selected on this tool, so I have to go and grab my black arrow, and I'm going to grab this shape. It looks like we're overlapping that one over there. And I have previously grouped everything because I've got all these little bits there, so I have it all grouped. So I am going to copy. I want to leave my original drawing intact in case I do any changes, and I'm going to paste down here. And so then the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to place it on the building. Okay, so I'm going to put this on hold for a moment. Okay, sorry for that interruption. So underneath your Perspective grid tool is the Perspective selection tool. Okay, so that Perspective selection tool corresponds to what's going on here. So this blue over here is blue lines here. If I click here, I get the orange lines that are over here. And if I click on the bottom, I get the green lines. Okay, so I've got my tool selected. I've got my blue area selected, and I grab my grouped object, and notice what's happening. See the way it looks kind of funky there? So I am placing it, and see the way it automatically changes it. And I can, grab it and adjust it. But so what I want to do is hold down the Shift key so that I don't distort it too much. Okay. It kind of wants to. Holding down the Shift key constrains it a bit, but I'm playing back and forth figuring this out. So when I held down the Shift key, it was contorting it too much, so I really wanted to have a little more flexibility. So it is a little squat right now, but I like that more than when it wasn't. So let me just pull up a little and pull down. See how that looks. Yeah, I think that looks fine. So this is one side of the building. So when I go up here to my artwork, you see I've just done the front of these buildings, I haven't added a side building in. If I were to go and take this building here, again, I'm going to copy it and bring it down here to this area and paste it in here. So I need to put it on this other side of the wall. So now I've grabbed that orange and see the way it lays down there. So I can go and drag that up. Now, if I put this here, this isn't truly what would be next to this building. You'd see the other half of this building here. So this building's going to move down the street a little bit, okay? And so I need to create this orange building here, the other side of this building. So you can go in and actually draw different shapes in here. So I have my palette right here. So I am going to take a square shape. I'm going to put it on here and I'm going to select that orange palette color. Okay, so then when I want to do the roof, I can go and grab that palette color. So, and then I've got this other piece here. I'm doing this a little bit sloppy. I have some inconsistencies with my shapes in here. And I think maybe I don't have this color here actually, so I think I can just grab the eyedropper to grab that color to match. Okay, so pulling down here. So it's just like when you're working on another document, working back and forth now with the unselecting and getting that corner to pull down a point. Or if you remember, you can actually select a line. See the way I selected that? And holding down the shift key to drag that line where I want it. So in this drawing, there were some errors in my drawing because it was so much smaller than what it is here. So I am going to go in here and pull some of this. So it's all grouped. So I am going to say ungroup, but it isn't ungrouping. It's not ungrouping. So let me just see what happens if I just pull that line. It might be fine. It is. It's working fine. Okay. And so then I will want to wrap this line here, you know, to create that color down the side there. So now going back to what I was describing with these points here, I'm going to, building a sidewalk, I'm going to go back into the tool and go back to my perspective grid, okay? And so now I can pull my grid sorry, I'm pulling all the wrong points. Pulling this side here, there, sorry. So I can get a sidewalk in there, okay? So now I will go and take the rectangular tool and notice again, it's going and connecting to those lines, and then I'm going to give it a sidewalk gray, and then I could go in and also give it some details where maybe I would want to actually give it maybe a rounded ellipse and go in here and create some sidewalk tiles in there. And I think I can nudge that up a bit as well. Okay, I'm gonna put it on pause for a moment. Hi, so the reason why I turned that off is after I drew the sidewalk, I looked and I thought, that really doesn't look like it's totally right perspective. And it is and it isn't. What it is giving me the right 2-point perspective, but it's not laying flat. And so one of the things is really if it was the shape went more like this and like this, which means I'm following this green grid and I was following the blue grid. So I am going to delete this box and I am going to go back when I have this tool selected. I'm going to bring this wall back where it was and I'm going to work on this green grid, which means that when I draw with this shape here, I am going to click on the bottom to actually draw that sidewalk in there. And there it's clicking, right? So that's giving me actually what the sidewalk should look like. Now, what I also have here is this stoop, which really should come out into the sidewalk. It's not a flat scenic on the wall, so I really need to build that out. So that's a little more complicated. So what I'm going to do, first of all, is I want to, when you want to hide your grid under view, you can go to perspective grid. So not show grid here, your perspective grid. And you can hide the grid for a moment to look at what you've got and see what's going on. So you can see I need to bring a stoop out here, and my sidewalk will need to be bigger because, you know, I'll probably have a front garden here instead. So I am going to go back and go to, where to go? Perspective grid, sorry, show grid. Okay, so I'm going to remove this sidewalk for now. Okay, so I need to zoom in here and recreate this walkway. So I am going to play with the orange grid now. So let me zoom out for a moment. And click on this perspective grid and pull out the orange. So see the way I've pulled that out, because I want to bring it aligned with actually the side of my house, right? Not this area here, because that's going to change. I'm pulling it over to the line with the side of my house. And so on this wall here, this orange wall, that's where I'm going to build this stoop out here. So I'm going to first, oops, see the way it's not working? It's because I didn't go over here and select the orange grid. So now I'm going to drag the orange grid in there. So that's giving me one side of that wall, because you know that wall's got a thickness of probably, you know, like maybe 8 inches. And then I would go in and select another wall. Let me select a color as well, this darker color. I'll go in and create the other part of that wall and give that the lighter color and give this one the darker color so we can distinguish them. So now my wall, when it comes straight out like that, I would go in then, and just like you play with shapes, I might add in a point. So I'm going to go add a point here, and then I am going to pull my wall down here to give it an angle. So then I would go and do the same thing with this over here, following that grid. So I can then go and take this line down here. And so there I'm starting to create that wall. And so this box here is really, let me get rid of this. Why is that so selected like that? There. Oh, shoot, it's selected. It's all one shape there. So what I'm going to do is delete some points. So you can also use the white arrow and use your, I'm holding down held down the subtraction key on my keyboard also to get that, instead of going back and forth with these